I've tried to distill the most important points when it comes to building your net worth, both what I see in my own experience, but also what I've seen Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett do. What activity, if done well and with intensity, that most people aren't willing to do, would give me an advantage? This has been a game changer for me, because most people don't have the endurance to do boring tasks, tasks that only will bear fruit in the future, repetitive tasks. Knowing this can become a real advantage, because if we can fall in love with doing these things, we will have a real advantage. This is a real hidden treasure, because it doesn't take anything outside of you. It only takes discipline and taking initiative. Anyone could apply this and reap results. For example, right now I want to improve my English skills. So I asked myself, what is one activity that most people wouldn't be willing to do to achieve this? So my answer was reading great literature out loud and copying out text by hand. So that's something that I've been doing the last months. When Warren Buffett was young, he used to go to the racetracks. You might think that he was interested in learning the probabilities of different horses or measuring different probabilities against each other. But it's more simple than that. He used to go to collect all the tickets that people had thrown in the mud, because he reasoned that someone might have been drunk and thrown away a winning ticket after he went home and went through all the different tickets that he had collected. And occasionally he would find a winner or two. And because he was only a child, he needed to send his aunt to go and collect the winnings. The tickets were there for anyone to find, but who would have the endurance to go through 1,000 losing tickets to find one winner? Well, Warren did. He later applied the same tactics on the stock market, and he bought the Moody's manuals with all the listed companies in the American stock market. And these contained thousands of companies with a short description of each. And Warren, he would go through these manuals several times, and he would find winners. He would find companies that other investors had overlooked. Who would do such tedious work of going through thousands of pages and thousands of companies to find one winner? Well, Warren did, because he knew if he just did that work, he would eventually find a winner. So in your life or career, what would be one activity that, if done well with intensity, that most people aren't willing to do, would give you an advantage? Now go and do that religiously. So the next point is, when opportunity presents itself, bet heavily. So there will be times in your life when there is an opportunity in front of you. And this is not the time to go home and think about it, because then the opportunity will pass on to someone else or the window will close. This is a time when we need to act boldly and give it all we got. There will only be a few times we get these opportunities in life, so when we get them, we need to act with boldness. And this opportunity can take the shape of many forms. It could be a person, it could be a business opportunity, an investment, or an education. Warren Buffett, he has shared that when an opportunity is screaming at you, then it's time to bet heavily. And a lot of the results I've seen in my life have come from this principle. For example, when I was making interviews with people in the music industry, there was about 50% chance that they would show up for the interview. I had hired a camera guy and needed to pay for the expenses, whether they showed up or not. One time I got the opportunity to do an interview with a big shot, and I wasn't sure if he was going to show up or not, but I hired a camera guy for $500, which was a lot to me at the time. So we went to set up the equipment and prepared everything, and lo and behold, the guy showed up, and this association has enabled me to make several hundred thousands after that. And if I would have postponed or waited too long, the opportunity would have been lost. And Warren Buffett has said, opportunities come infrequent. When it rains gold, reach for a bucket, not a thimble. So the next point that I've chosen is focus. So when you have found something that works, it is time to focus, focus, focus. Learn to say no to most other things to make the most out of this opportunity. This window of opportunity might be open only for a short time, so make sure to make the most of it. If you're spread too thin, you won't be able to accomplish anything. But on the other hand, if you focus all your attention and focus into one venture, then your chances of success goes up much higher. Learn to focus on the activity in front of you and make it the most important thing in the world right now. Give it your full attention, because this will give you an advantage over all other people that have scattered minds and are trying to do many things at once. This is a principle that I picked up in my teens when I was reading a book about Leonardo da Vinci. It said something like, treat any task or project in front of you like the most important thing in your life or in the world. I've never forgotten this, and I try to use this principle in everything that I do. When you work, work. When you spend time with family or friends, be there 100%. Give that person 100% of your attention. This will make you a very different person compared to most other people. So the next point is be generous to other people. A few people will try to take advantage of you. So being generous to them will only make you feel burned and make you feel like a failure. But being generous to the right people is the best investment you can do. Because most things that we want in life will come from other people. Love, friendships, money, opportunities. These things all include other people. So being generous to these people will strengthen the relationships and open up new opportunities for you. I usually think that acts of generosity brings luck. So if I faced some temporary failure or something didn't go as I thought, I usually take out a piece of paper and write an appreciation letter to an old friend. Or for example, I buy a gift for a family member and I immediately feel better afterwards. When I do this, I remember that the world is an abundant place, and making a friend or family member happy brings true happiness. An old friend of yours might be going through a rough time, and receiving this letter or a postcard might make them feel remembered, appreciated, or loved, and it might help them to go through this time. When we start giving, the universe will also give back to us. We cannot just sit in our apartment or house and wait for the universe to give us things. We need to first give to other people and then we can receive. The idea of appreciation letters is something that I learned from Warren Buffett. He sends out letters to people that he thinks has done something great for society. And he knows that these actions will come back to him in the future. He knows that it is good for his reputation as an investor and a business person. And then some person might recommend him a company that he wants to buy or invest in. Sending small gifts, thank you cards, or letters of appreciation have opened doors for me that otherwise would have been closed. Always, if I meet a person that I look up to at an event, I always send them a thank you note after. And this act has put me in lunch meetings with people that otherwise would have been impossible to reach. So the next point is, if a fig tree doesn't bear fruit, cut it down. And this is something that Jim Rohn talked about in one of his talks. Because most people get stuck in doing the same things day in and day out. And this is the power of habit, which usually serves us if we're doing something that works. But if we're stuck in something that doesn't work, we need to change. Occasionally we will find ourselves doing something that used to work 5 years ago, but that doesn't work now. Or we might be doing something, but we see that another path or another track in life would have the potential of being much more fruitful. Both of these examples are times when it's time to stop what we're doing, wind down the business or sell it and change. Because the longer we wait, the more painful it will be and the more misery we will experience. So making the cut decisive and fast could be really good. We could spend months wondering where all the customers went if we're in a declining business. We could wait years for a wrong investment decision, for a rebound that never comes. Making the cut early and changing to something that works in this day and age can be much more profitable. Warren Buffett, for example, he shared about one intelligent friend that went into the steel industry and he made a decent living for himself. But at the same time, Warren Buffett, he built Berkshire Hathaway, one of the most successful investment companies in the world. So sometimes we don't need to work harder, we just need a better boat. And changing boats could feel very scary because our identity might be tied up in what we're doing, in our reputation and what we have been doing the last years. Changing it might be scary. What will people think? What will our family think? What will customers think? But we should remember that humans have survived thanks to our adaptability. We used to survive because we moved with the seasons where we could find food. In the summer we might have spent the time near water where we could fish and find animals that were going there to drink. But in the winter we might have moved up into the mountains, into caves where we could find protection for the winter and survive the winter and find other animals to hunt there. And if for some reason the weather would change or some event happened that we couldn't find food there any longer, we moved to other places, and this enabled humans to survive. We can do the same today. If 20% of your net worth is sitting in an asset that is declining or that is not producing a return for you, selling it and moving that to an asset that will produce a 7 to 10% return will make a huge difference. If your business isn't doing well any longer or is declining, switching to something that works could be a great opportunity, because then you would make a surplus that could be used for investments. Using tax advantages. Warren Buffett, he used this principle when he was young, when he wanted to sell some stock that he owned. He learned that if he exchanged the stock for another asset, he did not need to pay any taxes for the gains. So he exchanged the stock for cocoa beans. And later he exchanged the cocoa beans for shares in the cocoa manufacturer Hershey's. So instead of paying a large portion of the gain from his initial stock in taxes, he did not need to pay any taxes at all. If your friend earns $50,000 as earned income, he will need to pay a large portion of this in tax, around 50% in some countries. And this leaves them with $25,000 to pay their own expenses and to invest to grow their net worth. If you, on the other hand, would earn $50,000 as capital gains instead of earned income, you would pay a lower tax rate, around 20 to 30%, depending on which country you live in. And this would leave you with $35,000 to $40,000 after taxes. And suppose both you and your friend have the same personal expenses of $20,000. Your friend will be left with $5,000 to invest. You, on the other hand, will have between $15,000 and $20,000 to set aside for investments. So that's 300 to 400% more than your friend. And if you both invest in the same investment vehicle with an annual return of about 7 to 10%, you would get ahead a lot faster than your friend. So the way that you earn matters. Even if you could move away just a little bit from being taxed as earned income to capital gains, it would have a huge effect on your net worth. So I hope you found these points valuable. They have certainly served me in my life to getting to the point where I'm at right now. And have a lovely week, and see you soon.